Hi everyone, welcome to my reaction video to yesterday's Xfactor show, which included the top 6 performers that night on December 5th, 2012. And if you're interested in watching the show, Xfactor is broadcasted live every Wednesday and Thursday at 8 and 7 Central. Wednesday being the performance show, and then Thursday being the result show. Just before we go on into the commentary and my reactions toward the performers, I would like to say comments in this video are made subjectively and are my personal views. You do not have to agree with it, but I appreciate your constructive feedback without personal attacks, cursing. I know how YouTube comments can get out of hand and downright offensive sometimes. So, moving on. So this week we have the top 6 performers, including Tate Stevens from the adult over 25. In young adults we have CC Fry. In teenagers we have Carly Rose Sonnenclair and Diamond White. In groups we have Emblem 3 and Fifth Harmony. And this week everyone's doing an unplugged version of songs chosen by their mentor. For those that do not know what unplugged means, unplugged versions of songs do not contain electrical instruments or any type of electronic amplification. It's all just plain old musical instruments. Like acoustic performances that you would see sometimes on YouTube. Or even on MTV, whatever. How the format of these reactions is going to go is, first I'm going to give my view on how the performance is through feedback, things they need improvement on, and score. You're probably thinking, oh, how do I qualify as a judge and why should I give a score even? But as an audience, I feel I should have my own set of rubrics on grading the performers too. You shouldn't always rely on the judge. After all, you can think for yourself. So, saying that, let's go to the first performance, which was conducted by CC Fry. She did a rendition of Lady Gaga's hit, The Edge of Glory. I love Lady Gaga, so I'm very critical about this. And I was crossing my fingers the entire time, hoping CC would not mutilate it. Surprisingly, she did a very good job, and she showed an immense improvement in her vocals compared to her performances in the previous weeks. But there is still room for improvement, of course. There are parts that were still pitchy, especially during the chorus. Some of the lines began with a hitched up note, like something like that. Just listen to it. Maybe it's just me. Who knows? Some parts in the beginning were a bit shaky, especially when she was trying to hit those low notes. It wavered a little. I think if CC wants to stay, she needs to work on controlling or holding her notes steady. Work on her transitions from high to low and back. And not being because I think she had to transition from high to low. It caused her to lose a little bit of control on her voice, resulting in pitchiness, quote unquote. One last thing is breathing, which is very important for every singer, but I think it's especially need to be developed with CC, because it brings everything together. I think with better control of her breathing, it also would make her voice waver less, and with better control on her voice like that, it will also make her singing less pitchy, and then it just brings everything together. As usual, I think her interpretation of the song was good. The facial expressions, eye contact, stage presence was good. Demi did a fair job with the stage production by keeping it simple and not forgetting to keep some of Gaga elements in it, meaning the piano. Overall, I would give CC a 7.5 out of 10. Up to the next, we have Emblem 3. For this week's performance, they sang Bruno Mars' Just the Way You Are. As we all know, in the past weeks, Emblem's 3 stage performances relied heavily on flashy stage production, singers, flashy flickering screen displays, and a whole bunch of stuff, electrical enhancements, whatnot. Even though they have average vocals and their physique, quote unquote, has put them in favor of the young girls of America, happy, they are good in their performance. I was expecting only one guitarist, namely of the guy who was sitting on the right side of the stage, or your left, whichever. You know, the person who was holding a guitar. I don't know his name. Uh, but it turned out to be a whole entire orchestra of guitarists, which was kind of disappointing because I was expecting it to be stripped really bare bottom and really down to the basics so they can focus more on their vocals. Regardless, they performed well vocally, but there's definitely room for improvement. For one, work on those vocals, make it stronger. I understand they have this charming quality, and they have this really good stage presence and charisma and youth energy that connects them with the youth of America, the younger audience. The one member that always rapped in the group was singing this week. I don't think it was a good decision, considering the fact that there were moments when those notes didn't hit the right pitch. He slurred his words a lot too, making it very difficult to understand what he was singing because the mic was like right up on his mouth. They call it kissing the mic, but I think he just needs to work on controlling the volume of his voice. I think what they need to work on is making those voices more emotional, bringing out, connecting more with the song and the lyrics. Because you can't just sing a song and not being able to connect with it, because that would be pointless and it would just make the performance really, really flat. Other than that, their young punk rock style, I feel like when I'm watching them, I'm always at one of those rock concerts for some reason. It was pretty good. I would give them an 8.5 out of 10. Next performer was Carly Rose Sonnenclair, who does a risky rendition of Justin Bieber's As Long As You Love Me. When I first heard mentor Britney Spears introduce her choice for Carly's performance, I was like, how is this going to be pulled off in an unplugged version? But there is one thing Britney mentioned that has struck a nail with me, I'm sure with many of you as well, is that Carly is at a stage, at a plateau where she's just too comfortable with her position and she doesn't want to take risks. But by taking the risk that she needs to challenge herself as a performer, she will improve immensely and and of course set the bar higher for everybody else. I think very few can deny that Carly was not at the top of her game that night. She used a simple rendition with very few vocal tricks, keeping it to the basics and pulling off a wonderful personalized versions of the song. However, there were a couple of things I would like to nitpick about. One is her attack on the song, which has to do with her connection to the lyrics. I think it's hard for a 13 to 14-year-old girl to know what boy and girl love is, especially when she never experienced it herself. But the lyrics call for it. If there was a little more attack to the song, maybe a vocal growl, like how Christina Aguilera does some of her songs, like I can't do it. It would have made it more convincing. Her facial expressions, I mean, it's part of the performance, isn't it? Always seem to make it look like she's in pain. She needs to keep more eye contact, focus with her audience because she's conveying the song to them, and she should do it even if she's doing her high notes per se, which is, I know, like for some of the singers, it's kind of hard to do because when you're doing those high notes, you feel it in the back of your head and you just have to close your eyes. It's just too much in the head. However, if you're a very good singer, you should be able to give it without like it doesn't look too good. And we'll help her connect with her audience more. I think sometimes she overdoes it by always wanting to do high notes, fancy smanchy stuff. No, I mean, for one or two performances is okay, but it gets predictable and boring after a while, so it's good to shake it up sometimes. And simple sometimes is the most challenging thing, and I definitely think she can work on that. Also, her ending notes, well, her voice seems to high pitch or hitch at the end. If you know what I'm talking about, like, how Aerosmith does the song, Like, I could stay awake just to hear you breathing. She does that sometimes. I'm sorry for burning your ears out, but she does that a lot, if you haven't noticed, for her songs, which is kind of harsh to the ears. I think perhaps I suggest using a vibrato to end the song, which she can do by distancing the mic from her mouth, creating an echo effect, which seems much better and more stronger for ending a finale. Overall, I would give her a 9 out of 10. The fourth contestant on the show is Fifth Harmony, singing a lovely rendition of Demi Lovato's Give Your Heart a Break. Their version was implemented beautifully, but it feels like their voices needs to strengthen a little. Each one of the members possess the potential to become solo artists, but due to the fact that they are in a girls group, they need to strengthen combining and harmonizing their voices, which was something that Judge L.A. Reid mentioned. At first, I didn't quite understand what he meant by harmonizing, but then I later realized that they were all either just singing their own section, doing oohs and ahs like background singers, and just singing together on the same, or just sing together in the same note. Harmonizing, if I'm thinking on the same lines as the judges, require more than the things mentioned above. It requires them to know their own strengths and blend those strengths of high and low notes together like a cappella to bring out harmony. If everyone is singing on the same note, then that's just singing. But if each member focus on a different note when they are doing chorus and blend it beautifully together, it will be harmony. This has also to do with teamwork and synchronization, because it reflects on their performances. If they work on that and being more relaxed in their performances and strengthen the volume and tone of their voices, they would definitely rock the stage. Overall, I would give them an 8.5 out of 10. Fifth contestant Diamond White does her unplugged performance on It's a Man's World, originally performed by James Brown. I am a huge fan of Diamond White, but this week's performance felt a little dull, and as usual, I felt she was shouting her high notes with her eyes squished in a closed expression, which everybody does. But it makes the performance feel a little uncomfortable to watch sometimes. Very subtle. If you dissect each little segment of the performance, you'll hear slight off-pitch singing. Perhaps it's the nerves, like Brittany mentioned to the choreographer. That's why she gets pitchy. However, this is more than halfway through the competition. She should have plenty of stage performance experience to help her overcome this obstacle, and she will probably be doing plenty more performances in the future. So she needs to learn how to not let the nerves overcome her. But kudos for her for doing that performance, and I give her 7.5 out of 10. Last but not least is Tate Stevens. To be honest, I'm not a big fan of country music, but for some reason I like listening to Tate Stevens. He doesn't try to scream or scrunch up his face, but his singing seems almost natural in his performances. This week he performed Living on a Prayer by Bon Jovi. As usual, there is a suave and tenderness about his performance. However, he didn't hit those high notes, which were the climaxes of the song, especially in the chorus. However, I don't think Tate Stevens would sound good yelling at those notes. No. I'm really torn between that comment that Demi made about, those were the good parts, the climaxes. But, it's really subjective. But overall, I liked it, and on a more personal note, I find Tate Stevens very endearing as a person on the competition because he exudes this warm-hearted family man image on TV, and he looks like a big cuddly teddy bear. Well, this is my personal opinion. For this performance, I give him an 8.5 out of 10. I think I said enough, so I will not be critiquing the Pepsi Challenge performances unless you guys would like it. Give me a comment and let me know if you want me to do a critique on it, or you think I talk a lot, I need to shut up. You may say that too. Thanks for watching, and hope to talk to you soon.